August 6, 2025. James Webb is forced into emergency mode. All observations are canceled. The data sent back has stunned the entire control room. In the light from Comet 3I Atlas, nickel is abundant, but iron is completely absent, a paradox never before seen in the universe. Is this an equipment failure, or a secret that nature cannot create? The numbers are not only shocking, they also suggest a hidden truth. From NASA to Harvard, scientific groups are whispering about the possibility of an unknown cosmic law, or an intelligent hand from Earth. If true, we may have been on the brink of the most dangerous discovery ever. And this is only the beginning. For more than a century of space research, scientists have become familiar with a seemingly unbreakable principle. Everywhere, from meteorites that fall in Greenland and Antarctica, to the glowing remnants of meteor showers in the Sahara, nickel and iron always go together. These two elements are considered the twin pair of the universe, like flour and water in bread. If one is missing, the finished product will never form. In mineralogy, that ratio is repeated thousands of times, with an almost absolute error. 1 part nickel for 15 parts iron. It is this rule that helps scientists distinguish between real meteorites and ordinary rocks. The metallic veins in the Earth's core also reflect the same formula. Nickel and iron mix, stick together, and exist as an immutable law of the universe. However, 3I Atlas dares to do the opposite. In the spectrum emitted from it, nickel flared like a flood of metal, while iron was completely absent. A formula that did not follow any theory, a paradox that exposed a gap in human understanding. It was as if some invisible hand had programmed to upset the familiar rules. And it was this surprise that made the entire scientific community face a chilling question. If the universe no longer obeys the old rules, what awaits us ahead? But what really shocked scientists was not just the strange disappearance of iron. When data from James Webb and a series of other telescopes were compared line by line, an even more chilling picture emerged. Numbers that could not be faked, signals that could not be hidden. And it was they who revealed the first secret of 3I Atlas. In the early days of August 2025, data from James Webb poured in small packets. The experts sat in front of the screens, their eyes glued to the optical spectral lines that stretched like metallic musical notes of the universe. At 3.415 angstroms, the nickel signal was clearly visible. Then 3.525, 3.783. Each value was like a hammer blow, confirming the same thing. Nickel was present at levels never before recorded. The noise was so low it was impossible to deny. This was not a stray signal, nor a software error. The research teams did not stop at a single source. Data from Gemini South in Chile was called in. Then, Europe's VLT, SPHERE, and even telescopes in Hawaii all gave the same cold answer. Nickel was abundant. Iron was completely absent. Not a single line, not a faint shadow in the expected spectral region. The scientists compared each number, each line, like detectives comparing fingerprints. And the more they examined it, the more clearly and decisively they saw the gap. In astronomy, the gap is sometimes even more terrifying than the discoveries, because it not only denies old knowledge, but also forces us to face the question, what was left behind? In the case of 3I Atlas, that gap is the absolute absence of iron, the element that must accompany nickel in all cosmic objects. It is like seeing a shadow of a person imprinted on the sand, but no footprints. The atmosphere in the laboratories became heavy. Scientists who were used to the certainty of the law now had to nod their heads at a paradox. Nickel was there, shining brightly in the data, and iron was gone, as if someone had erased it from the chemical music of the universe. And it was this gap that opened a door, leading to hypotheses more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. What do you think when these numbers completely do not match any rules? If you believe that this is just the surface of a hidden truth, leave a like. Because right now, the scariest theories will force us to look straight at what no one dares to mention. In the control room, where the cold numbers still flashed on the screen, a theory gradually emerged like a ghost among the rows of seats. What if nature did not create this phenomenon? It was no longer a naive question. Because all the evidence was clear. Nickel was present, iron was absent, and the silence of iron in the optical spectrum was like a cruel denial of all the knowledge that humanity had ever accumulated. Scientists began to whisper, at first quietly, then louder in closed discussion groups. They knew that, on Earth, humans had learned to separate nickel from iron. But it had been a journey of thousands of years, from primitive forges to modern smelters. The process required high temperatures, complex chemicals, and sophisticated technology to filter the nickel atoms from the iron substrate. It was not naturally available, but the result of intelligence, labor, and technology. So the scary question arises: if an object in the universe can possess this unnatural chemical formula, who created it? Is it a fragment of a world that once existed, where chemical processes followed a completely different path? Or is this the remnant of a man-made structure, crafted and then thrown into the universe as a forgotten piece of debris? Imagine a piece of nickel-rich metal with no iron at all, wandering through the dark space for millions of years, then suddenly caught the observation of the James Webb telescope. It is no longer simply a strange comet, but more like a metallic message, a chemical memo that someone or something left behind. What is more creepy is that this is not the first time humans have encountered unusual metals from the sky. Nickel-rich meteorites fell to Earth thousands of years ago and were forged into weapons for the pharaohs by the ancient Egyptians. But even those samples did not dare to go so far as to eliminate iron. They only had a high percentage of nickel, not pure nickel, like in 3I Atlas. That is, if Atlas is truly a man-made creation, it has far surpassed all the secrets that humans have ever known about the heavenly metal. In internal reports, some researchers have boldly compared 3I Atlas to artificial metallurgical products. Nickel is extracted, enriched, and then retained, while iron is completely removed. This process on Earth is often used in the aerospace industry, creating alloys that are resistant to heat and radiation. So could it be that out there, a civilization once needed these compounds? And Atlas is just a remnant of their technology. This thought makes many people shudder, because if it is technology, it means there is an intelligent hand behind it. And that intelligence, whether lost or still present, could pose a threat. No one knows whether Atlas is harmless debris or a kind of chemically disguised signal, wandering through space to reach the curious eyes of mankind. In closed-door conferences, scientists argue fiercely. Some insist, no, this is just the result of a strange formation environment, where iron is locked in minerals and nickel escapes. But there are also other voices, more reserved but determined. If this is not the product of intelligence, then what natural process could have produced it? The question echoes like a cold knife. No one can answer. Are we witnessing a rare phenomenon in nature? Or are we inadvertently lifting the curtain to cover up a more terrible truth? Perhaps 3I Atlas is more than just a comet. Perhaps it was a man-made formula, drifting through space like a piece of desperate mail. Or worse, like an eye watching over humanity from the shadows. And if that is true, the haunting question remains: who did what nature could never do? If 3I Atlas is indeed a man-made formula, who do you think created it? A distant civilization, or just a cosmic accident? Leave your thoughts in the comments section, because looking back at history, mankind has often trembled at the sight of metal falling from the sky. Over 3,000 years ago, in Egypt, ancient craftsmen found a metal that did not come from ore or a forge, but fell from the sky on meteor nights. They called it iron from heaven, a gift that was both sacred and terrifying. In the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, archaeologists discovered a blade that still had a metallic shine after more than 3,000 years. Modern analysis showed that the compound contained an unusually high concentration of nickel, far exceeding any iron ore found on Earth. This was a trace of a meteorite, a piece of metal formed by a cosmic collision and falling to Earth. For the Egyptians, the blade was not only a weapon, but also an amulet and a bridge to the gods. However, in ancient texts, they also recorded their worries. Every time iron from the sky appeared, it was always accompanied by events such as war, flood, or a change of dynasty. This belief made the metal both worshipped and feared. The Babylonians also considered nickel-rich meteorites as omens. In clay tablets, they described burning stars falling, always accompanied by warnings of epidemics or wars. For them, it was not just material, but a message from supernatural forces. Strangely, the data from 3I Atlas today reminds us of the past. Nickel appears dense, while iron is completely absent. If, in the time of the pharaohs, nickel only accounted for a high proportion, then in Atlas, iron has disappeared. The metal paradox that once sowed ancient fear has now returned in a more intense form. One can imagine, when Tutankhamun wielded the iron from the sky sword, he had no idea that thousands of years later, scientists would encounter an interstellar object beyond imagination. And if the Babylonians had seen James Webb's data, they would have seen Atlas as a terrible omen for all human civilization. The repetition across time makes us shudder. Could metal from the sky be a clue to a larger truth? That there might be an intelligent hand out there, leaving a chemical imprint as a reminder. Today we have telescopes and supercomputers, but 3,000 years ago, people used myth and fear to say the same thing. When the sky rained down strange metals, the world would change. 3I Atlas, with its abundance of nickel and disappearance of iron, is an echo of that primal fear. So the question is, if in ancient times, Pharaoh's swords were a sign of the dynasty, then today is Atlas a sign of humanity? Amidst public confusion, the scientific community is divided into two opposing camps, and the debate is hotter than ever. In the history of science, shocking discoveries rarely stop at numbers. They ignite fierce debates, where one side defends the foundations that have been built, and the other dares to ask fundamental questions about how the universe works. 3I Atlas quickly became such a fire. As soon as the first reports reached the community, NASA responded with familiar caution. The high nickel content and the absence of iron could be the result of an unusual formation environment. In the chemical kitchens of other corners of the universe, iron could be locked in non-volatile minerals, while nickel, in the form of volatile compounds, escaped first. It's a rare scenario, but it's entirely within the realm of natural science. not enough to conclude anything beyond current science. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, experts insist, and they call for more data, analysis, and independent verification. That tone is reasonable, but it doesn't silence other voices. Avi Loeb, a professor of astronomy at Harvard who has previously caused controversy with his analysis of Oumuamua, is once again taking the stand. He writes and states bluntly that if the data are confirmed, 3I Atlas may not be a regular comet, but the debris of an artificial structure where nickel was purposefully enriched. Loeb's argument isn't a sexy hypothesis, but rather a series of difficult questions. Why does the nickel content exceed all known records? Why is there no trace of iron left behind when instruments are sensitive enough to detect it? If there is no natural mechanism to explain it, why are we so quick to dismiss artificial possibilities? His words triggered a wave of reactions. In the scientific community, Loeb is both a respected and reviled figure. To supporters, he is a questioner. To skeptics, he is a source of shocking, unproven hypotheses. No matter where you stand, the argument is impossible to ignore. The data is so clear it is remarkable and not easily dismissed. The debate quickly turned into a trial by science. On one side, NASA and the major space agencies, with decades of proven resources, data, and approaches, presented chemical models, diagrams, and physical scenarios to demonstrate that everything can be explained by natural laws. On the other side were independent scientists, led by Loeb, who raised other questions, that if rare chemistry could not convince, then all possibilities must be considered, including the possibility of an intelligent hand. The press and social media wasted no time in fanning the topic. Popular science articles asked sensational questions. 3I Atlas, comet or spy ship? Nickel without iron, signature of nature or technology? On forums, people were divided into two camps. One called for restraint, waiting for evidence. The other was excited by the prospect that humanity had for the first time found possible traces of extraterrestrial intelligence. Discussions from the experts spread to the public, making the topic not only an academic issue but also a public affair. In this context, the data played a dual role, both cold evidence and a source of conflicting suggestions. The spectral lines, the acceleration numbers, and the light cycles were all clear but confusing. NASA did not deny the anomalies. They admitted that more observations and analysis were needed. Loeb also did not have perfect evidence to convict. He had only sharp doubts, demanding that science not rule out any possible hypothesis because it is difficult to accept. The gray area between caution and skepticism is where the imagination runs wild. 3I Atlas could be a chemical outlier in nature, a rare case that the current model does not cover, or it could be a first clue to something bigger, a piece of a structure or technology not of Earth origin. Both scenarios shake our understanding, but both require time and evidence to be confirmed. The ultimate question remains: is 3I Atlas just an outlier in the natural chemical game, or is it the opening piece to a larger picture that could change the way humanity sees its place in the universe? While we wait for answers, public opinion is divided, labs continue to run simulations, and every new number could be the key to tilting the balance of the debate. But will the truth comfort us, or make us more afraid than ever? If you find these controversies not just about science, but about humanity, please share this video, because what follows will open up a deeper layer of mystery, where Atlas may just be the beginning. If 3I Atlas is indeed a piece of alien technology, then a much more haunting question immediately arises. How many other pieces are wandering out there in the dark? Is Oumuamua just the prelude? Atlas the next act? And we are entering a cosmic scenario for which humanity has never prepared. Every minute, new data from telescopes continues to pour in, deepening the mystery rather than clearing it up. The spectral lines, the orbital curves, all of them are like fragments of a map leading to a larger mystery. And the scary thing is, we may only be seeing the tiny tip of a giant iceberg in the universe, where other interstellar visitors are quietly passing by, undetected. So if Atlas is just one of many, how many other objects are approaching Earth without our knowledge? And when they are revealed, will we have the courage to face the truth? Maybe besides Atlas, there are still other visitors approaching that we have not known about. If you want to be the first to touch the mystery when it is revealed, subscribe to the channel now, because the next mysteries may be even more terrifying. 3I Atlas has rewritten what we thought was certain. A comet filled with nickel, but the iron that should have accompanied it is completely absent. A formula that nature should not have produced, and yet it is present, clear, and challenging before our eyes. The biggest question now is this just a cruel coincidence of the universe? Or is it a purposeful message sent to humanity by another intelligence out there? Is Atlas a joke of nature? Or a chemical mirror to remind us that we are not alone? The answer, at this point, no one can be sure. But one thing is certain: the secret is still there, and it forces each person to choose how to interpret it. Thank you for accompanying us until the last moment of this journey. Every view, every attention is the motivation for us to continue to delve deeper into the unsolved secrets of the universe. If you find this journey worth pondering, please like, comment, and share the video so that more people can join in the search. And don't forget, the next mysteries await you at the end screen. Be prepared, because the next story can be even more shocking and shocking.